Interstate H1. Yeah! Alright, we're doing something completely different today, guys. We are leaving the US mainland for the first, but certainly not last time. And we are going to talk about Hawaii's Interstate H1. It is Hawaii's oldest and longest interstate and most traveled. And you see I dressed for the occasion. I've been waiting for this for a while. Got lots of these to bust out because I'm a big fat party animal. Alright, let's talk about the route of Interstate H1. It starts in the western area of Oahu near Kapolei, and I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce a lot of names today, and ends in eastern Honolulu. You're watching Control City Freak. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about interstate highways and the places that they're signed to go to. If you dig this kind of content, why not give us a like? And if you really like it, why not subscribe? Yeah, subscribe. And right now is the time where I tell you can request your exit for a $5 super sticker or super thanks, or you can give one just for kicks if you feel like it. We've got H2/201 coming up, although I'm recording that today, but I can add that in later. H3 and a gimmick video that I'm not going to have any requests for. So after that, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break, and I will let you know which roads we will be doing soon after that. All right, let's take a look at eastbound H1. H1 begins here in the Kapolei area. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And it is originally signed East Honolulu, which definitely makes sense. And here's the first exit off of Interstate H1. The western half of H1 is the Queen Liliuokalani Freeway, who was the only queen ever of a place that the US now runs, and probably wouldn't be the biggest fan of Hawaii H1's existence, so kind of a weird naming here, but certainly somebody worth naming it after. And we get our first mileage sign here. We get Ewa 4 miles away and Honolulu 16. So we see it's not too long of a road. And at random interchanges, it is eastbound Honolulu, so no surprise there. Here's our first exit deemed worthy of an overhead sign, Highway 750 and 76 for Kunia and Waipahu and Ewa. And then coming a couple miles further in, we have another exit for Waipahu. We are nearing our first interstate junction. We have northbound H2. H2 signed for Mililani and Wahiawa, and H1 still for Honolulu. So I should point out the even odd thing. It doesn't go the same way in Hawaii as it does in the mainland US. We've got 1 and 3 both happen to be east-west roads, and 2 is a north-south road. So it ends up being the opposite. They're simply numbered in the order that they were built, not in any sort of east-west kind of thing like that. And here is our split for H2, which is headed into interior Oahu. Now we're meeting H3 and 78 for Honolulu and Kaneohe, and it's a little weird that we are getting that 78 up there, but we are not getting 201, because this is the exit for H201 as well, and that's what they're actually referring to when they're talking about going to Honolulu. So we were signed to Honolulu up until this point, but because H201 is a shortcut to Honolulu, we lose the Honolulu signage on H1 itself, and we see Aloha Heights Stadium next exit. I always thought it was Aloha Stadium. We see now 78 West is cutting off for Iea, and H1 is east sign for Joint Base PHH and for the airport. So that is actually fine signage here because Honolulu downtown traffic would have gotten on 201. Although again, for some reason 201 was not signed on H1, at least that I could see. Our exit for Aloha Heights Stadium, and H1 East now signed for the airport because we have Joint Base PHH coming up as well. And here is a look at Aloha Stadium. Anybody who's watched the Pro Bowl back in the day recognizes this. Next, we are meeting State Route 92, the Nimitz Highway, and also Joint Base PHH. This exit was requested by MarbleousRacing, so I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. And his is actually 15B. This is 15A and B that we're getting signed for here. We are now back to H1 East Honolulu as we have our exit for the airport here, so the airport is no longer our primary control city. And we get the exit for Waikiki, also one of the few places that I did not have to look up the pronunciation for in this episode. And we see 92 East, Waikiki, Nimitz Highway, so that would be the same road we just saw at exit 15. And H1 signed for Honolulu, so we see most of these lanes are going to be leaving H1 at this point. In fact, H1 narrows quite a bit. We get a 2-lane road through this small bridge tunnel sort of thing here. And we widen back up as we head into Honolulu. We have Vineyard Boulevard coming because we have now merged with 201 traffic. It was a Y interchange, so we didn't see 201 come in. Coming up shortly, we've got the Poly Highway and Punchbowl Street. The Poly Highway seems to be the main way to get to the windward side of Oahu, along with H3. We see on collector ramps coming into the road, it is just signed H1 Freeway, H1 East Freeway. We don't get any kind of control city at all, because we're in Honolulu now, and the road still ends within the Honolulu city limits. Coming into more urbanized Honolulu now, so we see some taller buildings on the side of the road. And here we are much more downtown-ish, so we have this exit for I'm not going to try and say it, but for Manoa and Waikiki and Bingham Street coming up as well. Here's a view of downtown Honolulu taken from H1. And now we are coming toward the end of H1. This is Waialae Avenue. This is one of the final exits, and this is the Waialae District in eastern Honolulu, which is kind of where the end of this road is. And we see the same thing at random interchanges. It is just H1 East Freeway that is signed. Kind of like 95 in Miami. And we get a freeway ends warning sign coming up, and we can see that stoplight there in the distance. And here is, in fact, the stoplight, and we see we are right at mile marker 27 when we get the stoplight and the official end of H1, although no H1 end sign. All right, let's take a look at westbound H1. So we're back at that same stoplight, and we see here the Waialae Kahala Business District next right, just kind of a side sign here as we come over from that stoplight, and that'll be the first exit that we have just right away here. And we see that is where that exit is at Kilauea Avenue, and Waialae Avenue is coming up next. A lot of these pictures aren't that great. These are from a few years ago. It seems Google Street View doesn't make it out to Hawaii too often. I volunteer, guys. I totally volunteer. I will drive the Google car around Hawaii happily. Pick me. And here's what kind of a lot of H1 looks like in the Honolulu area. I've never been to Hawaii. I've seen pictures for sure. I definitely want to go one day, but it's kind of surprising that the freeway system just kind of looks like, you know, Tampa or Dallas or something, or Arlington. Doesn't look too Hawaii-ish, in my opinion here. We get our first pull through for H1, and it is for Waianae, which is interesting because that is way outside of the end of H1. We're going beyond the entire Honolulu metro area, and King Street for downtown is coming up here as well. I don't think Waianae is really the best choice here. I think given the amount of tourists in Hawaii, I think this entire westbound section should be signed for the airport. I feel like that would be the most helpful for tourists and probably helpful for locals as well, since lots of people are gonna, you know, hop over to another island or something. Here's University Avenue, and we can see a little bit of the University of Hawaii campus right here. And continuing through downtown Honolulu, we've got Vineyard Boulevard coming up soon. And here's a look again at the Honolulu skyline from H1. And here again, Honolulu, I've seen a few videos about the most remote city in the world, things like that. And Honolulu always ends up being #1, and it is a huge built-up city considering how far away it is from any other big city, thousands of miles away from any major place, so pretty amazing. See, the buildings are pretty close into the freeway at this point, and we've got a laundry list of exits coming up. Here is the Poly Highway, once again, exit 21B, and 21A was requested by Emmett Barris 2238. So School Street is his exit, so thank you so much for that request. I really appreciate it. We've got a digital sign here telling us the Pearl City exit 10 is 16 minutes via H1, 15 minutes via H201. So H201 cuts some mileage off, but does not cut off a lot of time. So I'm guessing there must be a lot of traffic on H201 at this given time. And then we've got the exit for 63 North. I'm sure I'm saying it the wrong way, but I would say as a Zelda fan, I would never want to exit onto Like Highway. I don't want to get my shield stolen. And we've got the exit for H201 coming up. H1 now is signed for Airport, Pearl Harbor, and Joint Base PHH instead of being signed for Waianae as it was before. And H201 is signed for Fort Shafter and for Aiea. Waianae just kind of completely disappears. Like I say, be better off signing H1 for the airport from the beginning, and then H201 here, I would actually sign for Pearl City. And here comes our actual split. We see most traffic is supposed to stay on H201 because it is the quicker way out, but then airport traffic or joint base traffic would be following H1 here. Here's our exit for the airport again, and we get joint base PHH exit coming up soon, and we are once again on H1 West Waianae. Again, I think I'd go Pearl City here. Pearl City is a pretty big place, one of the bigger suburbs of Honolulu, and it's actually on the route. But now we do go Pearl City. We get Aiea and Pearl City, and now 99 West for the Arizona Memorial Stadium. What? How many names did this stadium have? Naming it after the Pearl Harbor, Arizona Memorial now. No, I actually have realized that they have two different things listed there, but it is a little confusing how they do it. I don't know why they don't just put Aloha Stadium there instead of Stadium. Everybody knows Aloha Stadium. And here's our exit for H3 for Kaneohe and Honolulu. So we're getting 78 East. Again, that 78 East, I think, is actually H201 as well. So I don't know why the 201 shield's not up there. Seems kind of confusing. And H1 we're on for Pearl City. And there is our exit for H3 and for the stadium as we continue along H1. And we see these are exit 1s, so we are getting either H201 or H3's numbering on here and not H1s. Now we have an exit for H201 West. H201 West is just a small little nub that will take you over to Aiea and Pearl Ridge, so those are sensible control cities, but there's not much to H201 West. Weird that they give us the sign or the number for it westbound, but not the much more important eastbound. We're meeting H2 again, and we are also getting our exit for Pearl City, the exit 10 that digital sign mentioned before, and we are now on H1 West Waianae, which from this point I do think makes sense. Here is our actual split with H2, and we are meeting Highway 76 and 750 here, and we are on H1 West Waianae. At random interchanges, it is Waianae for westbound and Honolulu and Eva for eastbound. We get a mileage sign here, and these are all pretty much going to be places that are after H1 itself ends, but there is a road that will continue after H1 ends. Here's an Eva exit, exit 3, and exit 2, and we're just getting a list of cities instead of getting anything else. Just 3 different city names instead of a street name or road number or anything like that. All I could see on Street View was this construction, and when I looked back, there was 2019, and that's this. In 2011, there was still construction, so this is about as good as I could get, and it's just for water park. Okay, and now we're getting to the last exit, exit 1, which we saw earlier, the Barbers Point Harbor and Campbell Industrial Park. And we get a big N freeway sign, but we do not get an End H1 itself sign. All right, let's talk about Todd's the way it should be for H1. I'm going to say eastbound, it should be Honolulu, and then once we get to H201, we should switch it to Pearl Harbor / Honolulu Airport. After meeting PHH, we should go to Honolulu / Honolulu Airport. Then I think just signs for downtown would be fine because we'd already be within Honolulu city limits. And then East Honolulu or Waialae, I'm not sure exactly what would work best there. And westbound, I feel like westbound, they get this pretty wrong. They make it kind of needlessly confusing on a lot of this westbound signage. So I've not been there. Again, I am hardly an expert. From what I could see from my bird's eye view here would be westbound downtown, and then once you're downtown, just airport. After you hit the airport, Pearl Harbor for like 1 exit, and then Pearl City until exit 10, and then finally switch to Waianae for the westernmost section of the road. Alright, thank you so much for watching this episode of Control City Freak. I'm excited to be here in Hawaii, and we will be back next week with more Hawaii content. We're going to be talking about H2, and H2 is not too long, so we're going to talk a little about H201 as well. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Control City Freak. My name is Todd, and until next time, keep on trucking.